Wolfe and Brennan in the morning.
And we're back once again discussing the 6th episode of Season 1 of Community. As always, I'm Wolfe, and as always, I'm joined by Brennan.
Hello there.
General Kenobi. So, on last episode, we actually talked about discussing the alternate scene from, what was it? Advanced Criminal Law was the name of the last episode. And there was an alternate scene with, two alternate scenes with Annie and Pierce. And so, basically, this one's a more extreme version of what we got. But I hadn't seen it before last episode, so I decided in between recording I'd go watch the episode, or watch the alternate scene, so we could then discuss that alternate scene now that both of us have seen it before we get into today's episode. So, let's do that.
All right.
So, it is the first thing I noticed with this scene. It is a completely different room. It kind of adds up with your story with how the network said, no, you can't air this scene that way. So they had to go back and reshoot it. Yeah. And I guess, like, changing what room they do it in, I guess that makes sense for their reshoots. Maybe something they did on top of, like, maybe on top of filming Season 2, because that classroom looks a bit more Season 2 backdrop to me.
Yeah.
And then the alternate scene is very obviously Season 1 vibes. And then, of course, like, it starts out with Pierce trying to do the whole Greendale. But then something else that
pale.
I wish they kept this in, because in the version we got in the episode, he just does the Greendale bit over and over. But then in the cut scene, he's just trying to rhyme different things with Greendale.
Yeah.
And Annie even brings him muffins. I'm like, oh, why didn't she do that in the actual episode? Like, it's such an Annie thing to do.
He starts throwing them at her.
And then he crumples one too. Right in front of her. Like, he's like, I need you to stop trampling the inside of my male womb. And a mocha cappuccino.
It was so weird.
It's such a weird line. It is hilarious, though.
Yeah.
I wish they could have kept that line, because I laughed out loud at that line. I was like, dang, that's just so Pierce. Like, you have to have that line.
I could see why they cut it.
Yeah, it is.
Because it is a bit much for normal television.
It is, yeah.
Like, if it was streaming now, I feel like they could get away with it.
Oh, yeah. Streaming comedies get away with a lot more than network comedies.
Yeah.
Yeah. He, like, crumples up one of the muffins to prove his point, too. And it's like, I'm going to give you the song when it's done. You wouldn't just get a crumb of a muffin. And I'm like, okay, well, that I did think was maybe pushing it a bit. Just like, okay, she gave that muffin to you. Like, what the heck?
I really liked how she kind of went off on him at the end.
Yes, I did, yeah.
Like, I wish they kept that in there, because it does describe Pierce's character.
It does, and Annie honestly has a point in that. Like, Pierce punishing the only people that believe in him, like, that was such a good, maybe not observation, but such a good way of putting it. I wish they had kept that in. Yeah. Also, in this version, I thought that, or no, sorry, my notes are a bit jank right now. I'm also running on about 4 hours of sleep, so I'm a bit delirious.
Yikes. What have you been doing? Sorry, we'll talk about that after. I was going to ask, what have you been doing to keep you awake? But we'll talk about that after we're done recording.
Oh, absolutely nothing.
Oh.
My body just hates me.
I know those nights.
It'll get better.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll get over it.
Yeah.
But anyway, Chevy pulls off accidentally writing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star better in the scene they kept, I think.
Yeah.
Like, compare the two, like, he actually improved on that. So, I'm glad that they improved upon. But yeah, I do think, like, Annie going off on Pierce is a lot more brutal, and maybe, I mean, it makes sense in the context of this alternate scene, but I do think, like, some great lines were sadly cut. I will say that. But ultimately, I think it was changed for the better, with Pierce admitting he was wrong and Annie dropping some of her kind of, like, backstory in that moment and encouraging him. Yeah. Like, I think that gives a more satisfying character arc for Pierce, even though he ends up ripping off someone else. Yeah. But the alternate scene, I think, was good, too. Like, I understand why they had to change it, and I think, ultimately, even though the great lines were cut, it was for the better. It made Pierce a little less abrasive, although the alternate scene does fall in line with Pierce in later seasons in comparison to season 1 Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take on it. I didn't know if you had any other thoughts on that scene.
No, I agree with most of what you said. I like how I think the one we ended up with was probably the better choice, but it was kind of satisfying to see Annie go off on Pierce. Like I get that it wouldn't really fit in the story that they ended up going with, and that we got to learn more about Annie, but it was satisfying seeing Annie go off on Pierce.
Yes, it was. Especially with how much crap she takes from him compared to the rest of the study group.
Yeah.
With that, why don't we get into our next segment? Old White Man Does!
Wait, I'm Old White Man Says?
I love that you made that for this.
Yes, so I got bored one day. I made a little jingle for Old White Man Does, and every time we do this segment now, that's going to be playing. And I put it in our Discord too, so we can also hear it when we're recording.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
So, for Old White Man Does, this one happened when I first started working where I work. I was driving my little golf cart around to go to a work order to deal with it. I forget what the work order was. I get flagged down by a resident and his wife, and he just points at the ground and says that came out of my pants. And I look down, and there is a 4 to 5 foot snake on the ground. So
wait, I'm sorry, 4 to 5 foot?
Yeah, it's a long snake. Like, if I'm standing up, like, when I picked it up, I grabbed it behind the head, obviously, so it couldn't bite me. It was a rat snake, so it wouldn't have hurt me at all, or it wouldn't have been venomous or anything. It's a perfectly normal snake, but still don't want to be bit by something, you know?
No, you don't.
So, grab it behind the head and held it up, and I think I'm 5'11" the last time I checked.
That sounds right.
I was holding the snake with my arm stretched out, and its tail was touching the bottom of the snake was touching the ground.
Wow.
So it was a big boy. And I just look at him, I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And he goes, oh, no, not the pants I'm wearing. I was getting my spring clothes out of the garage, and I picked up a pair of pants, and they felt heavier than normal, so I let him go, and he fell out.
Oh my gosh.
And just the way he phrased it made me think it slithered out of his pants that he was wearing.
That's what I would have thought.
Yeah. And I feel like knowing this resident the way I do now, I think he did that on purpose, just to mess with me. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But the sad thing is, his wife hates snakes, right?
Yeah.
And so she had me go kill it. And my plan was to just take it into the field and let it go away from the village. Mm-hmm. But she wanted to watch it die.
Damn, that's brutal.
So she gave me, because she knew I was going to do that I told her, ma'am, it's not harmful. It honestly will keep the other snakes away that are harmful. And she was like, I don't care, kill it. She handed me a shovel. So chopped his head off and threw it in the bag and threw it in the trash.
Damn.
And then the next week, there was a baby copperhead on the street. So, you know.
Yeah.
Luckily, no one's been bit or seen one besides that baby. So.
Yeah, good thing it was a baby too, I think.
Well, no, babies are worse.
More venomous?
Their venom is more potent because it's new.
Oh, yeah.
So if
that
it's
sounds
the same
right.
Same with scorpions and any animal that has venom, the babies are more venomous.
See, I knew that with scorpions. I didn't realize that with snakes until you said that. I just figured, if it's a baby, it's not going to be able to be as quick or whatever.
No, it's not great. Here, Wolf, I can send you a photo of the snake if you want.
Yes. Yeah, no, totally. I thought this guy's...
Should we post the snake on the Discord?
Yeah, we might as well.
Or on the Instagram.
Yeah, we'll post the snake on the Instagram when this episode drops.
Yeah, when this episode drops, if we remember, we'll post a photo of the snake.
I'm going to actually do something very clever and write it onto our schedule that we have to put.
Ooh, sweet. That'd be wonderful. Yeah. And I've got it saved in a folder for just labeled work things. So I'll be able to find them easily when we go to post it.
Sweet. So if you're coming from Instagram because you saw that snake, congratulations, we succeeded.
Yep.
If not, then it somehow evaded us.
If you're scared of snakes, I apologize.
Yeah. On behalf of both of us.
Yeah.
Because I'm the one that's going to end up posting it, because I'm the one that manages the socials.
So, I don't mind snakes because I grew up in the South, right?
Yeah.
So there was a camp I was working at where we were killing copperheads every other week.
Oh,
I think one summer it was 2 copperheads a week usually.
dang.
I had a camper get bit by a copperhead. That was a fun night.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah. We were playing Capture the Cones. It's like Capture the Flag, but with traffic cones, because no matter how athletic you are, you're slow running with the traffic cone.
Yeah.
It kind of evens the field.
Mm-hmm.
And this is in the hills, or the mountains. I can't say what state, but in the mountains.
Yeah.
And I'm injured, so I'm like the jail keeper. And this camper, one of my kids from my cabin comes up to me and goes, I think I got bit by something, but I don't know. I was like, what do you mean you don't know? And he's like, well, I was crawling through a thorn bush. I'm like, it is 11 o'clock at night and you're crawling through a thorn bush. That's commitment.
Yeah.
He shows me his hand, and like on the webbing between his thumb and forefinger, there were 2 very distinct puncture marks.
Oh.
And I was like, I knew immediately that's a snake bite, but I didn't want to scare the kid. And I was like, it could just be thorns. Because sometimes when snakes bite, they don't inject venom. So I was like, let's go talk to the camp nurse and she can see what's going on. And on the way to see the camp nurse, the camp director sees me walking this kid and goes, what's going on? I explain the situation. He takes one look at it and goes, yep, there's a copperhead bite. Come back in an hour.
Oh.
And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, if it starts swelling up, that's a problem. But otherwise, he's fine. So,
Wow.
about 20 minutes later, his hand was about twice its normal size, green and purple. And I was like, all right, we're going back. So they took him to the hospital, and he's fine. But none of my kids slept that night, which means I didn't sleep that night.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they were all scared, and one of them refused to go to the bathroom because he thought a snake was going to come out of the toilet and bite him in the butt. So, that was a fun one.
Oh, man, that's wild. But with that story you
anyway,
were sharing me...
Yeah,
we
tangent, sorry.
You're good, yeah. No, with
Yeah.
that story, like, I was like, how does a 4 to 5 foot snake fit in a guy's pant leg? Mm-hmm. And then and it's like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. He was coiled up.
Coiled up in spare pants, not...
Yeah. Yep. Luckily, not in the pants he was wearing.
That would have been...
Yeah. I remember sending that to my friend group. And we'll post this photo as well. But I got a really funny response from one of my friends about it. And I'll post that in the Instagram as well when we do this.
Yeah.
But I'll send it to you right now, Wolf.
Sweet. I've saved the other ones, so I'll make sure to share those. Speaking of releasing episodes, tomorrow's the day for us where the first episode drops.
Sweet.
Yeah. It's about time. Oh, I just got the photo that Brennan sent me. I will just leave it at follow us on Instagram if you want to know why I'm chuckling so hard.
The thing is, he sent that within 10 seconds of me sending the photo of the snake, which means he had that saved and ready.
Oh, man. I love when you do that. I have a folder of, I shit you not, over 1,000 reaction memes.
That's amazing.
Oh, man. Whenever I get
I've got a folder of
perfect
like
moment,
72. I need more.
I'll send you some
right.
at some
I'll
point.
just use them in our conversations, so then
There we go. You'll
I'll
acquire
steal them, and they'll make a fine addition to my collection.
Yes. But yeah, so like whenever the perfect circumstance comes for me to use one of those 1,000 memes, it is so satisfying, especially if it's one that's like very oddly specific. Like that one.
Yeah.
Again, I really don't want to spoil what that image is because I want people to have the reaction I did to seeing it.
To witness it for the first time.
Yes, so follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on Threads. I'll put it on Threads too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's Old White Man Does, with a long tangent.
Yep, that's the longest we've gone for Old White Man Says. We are just over 17 minutes into recording, and we've only done the alternate scene and Old White Man Does.
Oh, dear.
I figured that happened with this episode, though. There's a lot of that. Anyway, we start off with the Dean barging in to convince Troy to join Greendale's football team, and Shirley inviting Britta to use the restroom with her, but Britta declines. Britta ends up going later with Shirley, only to counter all of Shirley's complaints and conversations, having no awareness of how Shirley's reacting. Or really any awareness of the situation. Oh, hello, Noki. This is my cat. She is crawling on my desk as I try to give the recap.
Nice.
Anyway, I'll let her go do her thing while I talk about how Jeff discovers posters of himself in the halls of Greendale and interrupts Pierce and the dean's brainstorming session to confront the dean about using Jeff's likeness on these posters. The dean tells Jeff to convince Troy to join the football team and he'll take down the posters, and he won't send out the mailers. This becomes Jeff's mission, doing so successfully, of course, much to Annie's dismay, who had been helping Troy out with studying astronomy, and now he's like, I don't need astronomy. She confronts Jeff, who then decides to go back and tell Troy that he didn't actually belong on the team, but Troy said that he wanted to play because there'd be no pressure on him to be the best at Greendale. He could just play for fun. And Jeff then goes back, apologizes to Annie, but not before Annie vents to Britta about what happened in the restroom. At this point, Britta had been taught by Shirley to be soft in the women's restroom. And there's actually one name that I have yet to mention from the main study group in this recap.
Pierce.
I mentioned Pierce.
Oh, Abed.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, which is funny, because this actually goes into my overall notes, because Abed says in the opening of the episode, I can lay low for an episode, and then actually lays low for the whole episode, only appears in one more scene until the end tag.
And the only, that scene is when he walks by and just waves at him.
Yep.
And Shirley looks hurt that he didn't join them, and Britta goes, "It's fine. He's just laying low He's just laying low," which is
so
a great
meta.
callback. It is.
Which the joke with that Abed, when Abed says that on its own, it's hilarious. But then you add Britta referencing it to him, like that's gold right there.
It was great.
Yeah. Another overall comment I had is, so we've talked about how Spanish 101's episode where Pierce softens Jeff up, and this is in the context of the first few episodes after the pilot having a different study member spend time with Jeff, getting him to soften his character from this hard, conniving lawyer person into a little bit more tolerable, and he'll continue to improve. But anyway, so then we have Intro to Film, which was Abed softening Jeff, Social Psychology, which was Shirley, and Advanced Criminal Law was Britta, leaving only 2 study members, Annie and Troy, for the next 2 episodes. So, Brennan, I have a question for you. Based on today's episode, whose episode do you think it is?
Well, I actually know the answer to this because I was listening to the commentary. This is Troy's episode.
It's Troy's episode, okay.
Yeah.
Because I could go either way.
Yeah. It is Annie's in it, but she's not the main plot that Jeff is focusing on.
That makes sense.
She's kind of fighting with Jeff, but she's not the main interaction with Jeff. That's more Troy.
Actually, that's fair. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, because both of them do some softening of Jeff. Although I put in my notes mainly Annie because she's the one that's calling Jeff out on stuff.
She guilt trips him hard.
Yeah. And then he
actually,
feels bad, and then he goes back to Troy.
I actually have some trivia on that real quick from the commentary.
Ooh, okay.
So apparently, when Annie walks away from Jeff and Jeff yells, "And don't do that thing where women walk away from men and make them feel bad, because it's not going to work." Apparently, Allison, who plays Annie, did such a good job with that scene that Joel actually felt bad in real life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, that's fair.
And then another reason of her Annie killing it in this episode. In the commentary, Donald Glover tells Allison that her crying is so believable to the point where he would hate to have her as a daughter or a girlfriend.
Damn. That's also ironic considering how much Annie goes after Troy too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Which it's ironic because I'm not sure. Hold on. I need to check the episode order before I speak.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, that makes sense because I guess at the end of the episode, Troy is the one that ends up helping Jeff to soften up and accept where he is.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he spends more time with Troy than Annie. So I guess that. And I guess if they said it in the commentary, then yeah, it has to be Troy's episode.
Can I say what I was wanting to say? No, I can't. Okay.
All right, we'll save that for another time when it's a little less spoilery.
Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness my cat's about to take a nap, so she won't be making background noise anymore. Hopefully.
I haven't heard anything, but that might
So
be
you
Discord
haven't.
noise suppressing things.
It is, yeah. I'm looking at my Audacity, and there's always little bumps on there whenever she's walking by, because she has a bell on her collar, so then I know where she is.
Okay. Yeah.
Brennan, are you playing with your keys right now?
Oh, no, I'm playing with my bottle opener. Sorry. I'll put that down. Sorry, I didn't realize you could hear that.
Yep.
It's shaped like a lightsaber.
Oh, yeah.
The little, like, I was kind of flipping it around, and apparently the little keychain on the end was smacking against it, and I couldn't hear it. My bad.
That's okay. No, I kept, like, thinking, like, because I would hear it some, but then I would think, oh, that's just the cat. But then, like, as she's laying down and not moving, I still hear it. I'm like, that's not coming from her. It'll be fine. I'll just... you guys are going to have to hear some jingling every now and then. I can only do so much. But anyway, this episode also had Troy's big reveal in it about the injury. Like, he faked the injury on purpose. Oh, hello? Oh, shit.
Okay, so I apologize to our listeners. I had a power surge and it shut down everything in the house and everything came back on. So sorry for the awkward silence there if that's there.
Yeah, I started talking and then I heard, you guys will hear it. Like, you hear me kind of like pausing, waiting for Brennan to like respond, and then I'm like, so I just decide, oh, I don't hear him. I'll just keep going. Is what I was gonna do,
yeah.
and then
Everything died.
Brennan calls me. I'm like, oh shoot, maybe I should stop talking then. But we got it figured out, and
right.
Thank goodness he had his audio saved.
Yeah.
Thank goodness,
Yeah.
or you were able to recover it. Oh my gosh, because if we had to redo all that,
If we had to redo that was because it was such a good beginning. Like, I appreciate the tangent. There was no way we'd be able to recreate that.
No.
So, yeah.
Anyway, so this episode, I don't know if you even caught me saying this, Brennan, but this is the episode with Troy's big reveal.
Yeah, I didn't hear this.
Yeah, so faking the injury on purpose, right? And so that's actually, I don't know if you have any no, you probably don't, because Brennan's not Brennan. Abed's not in this episode.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, Brennan.
You're good. You're good. I thought you were going to make a thing about sports, and I was about to go sports ball. So
No.
no.
Now, this moment, it's not from Abed, but using an injury or an illness to get out of something so you don't miss out because of, like, your own limits. You miss out because something happened to you. And then no one in their right mind would blame you for that, right? Mm-hmm. So that's something I've done in the past with autism because it's easier to explain, oh, I'm sick, or, like, I burned my foot, which was actually true for that case, but it was not as bad as I made it seem.
Did you step on a George Foreman grill?
No, so I stepped. What I did, that would have been. That's what everyone asks.
Did you get that? Please tell me you got the
I got it.
reference.
Yes,
Okay,
I got it. No, everyone asks me that every time I tell them what happened. No, so in my apartment, I have these like heaters that are like, I don't know what the term is for them. I've heard it before, but they're like the kind that are only heaters. They're on the ground.
Oh, is it the metal things on the side? Like on the ground?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I hate
It's
those
those.
things.
And one of them happens to be on the wall that my desk is against, and I used it as a footrest, forgetting that it was a heater and not the ground or the wall, and it burned my foot. And so the next day, it was okay. Like, I could walk on it okay, but the next day, like, I just figured, I can get out of all my stuff without having to explain the autism tank has ran me dry or something.
Yeah.
Like that. Instead of explaining that I am just simply exhausted and drained, I could say, hey, I burned my foot, so I can't walk on it.
You mentioned that, and it kind of I actually just had a realization of that times I've done that, and it kind of put something into perspective for me. So when I was really young, I think like first grade, is when I lived out in Arizona. I did not like school. Granted, most kids don't. But
no,
I disliked it for the reasons that a lot of kids like it, is the socialization aspect.
Oh, yeah.
I would feel so overwhelmed by that I'd go in the bathroom and make myself throw up so I could go home.
Wow.
So, like, I realize that now. Like, that's why I did that.
Yeah, because it's like, we don't always have the tools to explain, like, hey, like, I have an invisible disability, and it is making doing this thing or going to do this thing difficult right now. Or the thought of doing this thing is so overwhelming that I need to be at peace and not do it.
Yeah.
So instead, we fake injuries. We make ourselves vomit, or we just say that we're sick, or make a scenario out to be worse than it actually is.
And I mean, that's with people that we don't know well. Once we get to know someone
Yeah.
really well, like I am perfectly fine telling my small group, I'm not coming because I'm too exhausted and I don't want to deal with you guys.
Yeah, I do the same thing with my small group.
Yeah.
And actually, I kind of did that on Monday, too, when I told Blake, because Brennan was visiting our friend Blake earlier this week and kind of got stuck there. So then I was going to go up and hang out with them, but I got 2 hours of sleep the night before and was like, I can't. I'm sorry, guys.
Nah, you're good.
And that, like if I hadn't known you guys as well, I probably would have made up some other BS excuse. But no, I could just tell you guys I got 2 hours of sleep and it'd be fine.
Yeah. We didn't do much at all. I think we watched...
Yeah, besides fix the truck.
Well, we didn't even do that. The mechanic was doing that. But we just watched Community and hung out. So,
Hey, fair enough. Like, that would have been a good time, but...
Jasmine,
oh, well.
Jasmine doesn't like it.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jasmine.
Well,
we know who's not going to be listening to this podcast.
Blake will. Blake said he's interested.
Yeah, let's go.
But I think we got to... I fell asleep during it because I was stressed out.
That's fair.
For some reason, every time I go to Indiana, something happens.
Ooh.
Which is great, because, like, it's a good story. But the truck
That's
was
true.
stressing me out because I was missing out. I was missing work, and I'm one of the 2 maintenance guys.
Ooh.
And so there was only one maintenance guy Monday and Tuesday because my truck wasn't working and I couldn't get home, and I felt bad.
Yeah.
So I was stressed out, and then I was in pain because I hurt myself. Which, well, if you don't know this,
I did not know that.
well, it's not serious. It's just like not something that needs a doctor, I should say. But it's still hurting 3 days later.
Ooh.
Blake and I were shooting. I recently got a gun for my birthday, and so we were shooting my gun for the first time. And I know better, but I guess I was just so excited to shoot the gun that I was holding it incorrectly.
Oh.
So my left thumb was up above the slide. So when I shot, the slide shot back, like the bullet is projected forward, right? And the slide comes back to load the next one. And the slide smashed into my thumb dead on and cracked the skin and took about half my nail off. And I didn't notice it. I fired through the rest of the ammo, and then I felt something drip onto my foot, and I looked down, and there was just blood pouring out of my thumb.
Oh,
I was like,
yikes.
well, shit. So, I christened my gun with my blood, so we're fine. But...
oh, my gosh.
So,
my gosh, Brennan.
yeah.
Yeah, gun safety is
And
important.
then... Well, like, I didn't point at anyone. It was gun safety.
Right, yeah.
I was being perfectly safe. I just...
Yeah, you were being safe. You were just being stupid.
Yeah. But, yeah, so... And then today...
You were being safe you were being safe in the sense that lives were not in danger.
Yes.
You were being unsafe in the sense that you injured yourself.
Yes. And then today I smashed it with a hammer at work on accident. So that
The same one?
Yeah.
Ah...
That didn't help either.
Brennan.
Well, my thought process...
Oh my gosh.
My thought process, right, was if I hold the nail with my right hand, which is my dominant hand, I'm going to smack my hand because I'm going to be swinging with my left hand, my non-dominant hand, and I'm not coordinated with that one. So,
Yeah.
my thought... And then I was like, if I hold it with my injured hand, my left hand, I am most likely to hit the nail and not myself because I'm coordinated on that side. And I succeeded. But I was so focused on what hand to use that I didn't consider the size of the nail.
Oh.
The nail is smaller than my thumb.
Yikes.
Smaller than the width of my thumb. So I was kind of pinching it on the edge. And I just wasn't thinking. So, I'm glad the resident I was helping was deaf. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. My gosh.
Anyways.
Now that Brennan's injured his hand twice.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah, you are.
All right, back on topic. Sorry.
Yeah, so Troy faking his injury, unlike Brennan's very real ones, even though like he's not at least not to most people speculated to be on the spectrum or written to be on the spectrum.
I don't
that
think
moment.
he is.
There's some things Troy does, like fake an injury to get out of the pressure instead of just saying no.
I think he has autistic tendencies, but I don't think he would be diagnosed.
That's fair, yeah, because he does have some tendencies, but
because everyone
he does
is
seem to struggle
autistic.
less.
Everyone's autistic to some degree. It just, if you meet the threshold, then you get the diagnosis.
Well, that's not quite accurate. Like, not everyone is autistic.
Well, like,
it is.
Everyone has.
You can have
yeah.
They have the traits.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to clarify that real quick because we could have some very angry listeners.
Yes.
If
Everyone
we say,
has autistic traits, but you have to meet a certain threshold of those traits to have a diagnosis.
Yes, which we both do. Mm-hmm. We're very certain Abed would.
Yeah. Dan Harmon himself confirmed it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is also on the spectrum, fun fact.
Yeah. Who he
Yes.
discovered he was on the spectrum by researching Abed.
Yeah.
And then went and got a diagnosis.
There you go.
All right.
Different than my diagnosis story, to be sure, but
Yeah.
yeah, but you know what I found interesting too? I'm gonna circle back to Jeff being softened up by the characters, actually, because as always, my notes are disorganized and I just write out what I think when I think it. Mm-hmm. But not only does Jeff soften up more, but another character does as well.
Mm-hmm. Britta, right?
Yep, Britta.
Yep.
And that's because of Shirley. Shirley's kind of softening her up a little bit. And, I mean, Britta kind of softened up a bit in the last episode, too, when she admitted that she felt she was worthless. And then we get even further, like, we learn more about Britta through this episode. It's like, kind of like peeling back the layers of the onion, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We're getting another layer peeled off of... The sentence came into my mind and I started to say it. And then, like, I just thought it was too funny. We're peeling off another layer of Britta is what I was trying to say.
Oof.
Oh my gosh. This is the episode people think we're going to be drunk on, but I haven't drank it all today. Oh, man. Yeah, those are all my general notes. Okay. I don't know if you had any others.
I've got 2 more general trivia. And then I just have funny moments and quotes. But
yeah, why don't you do some of the general notes and then quotes and stuff. We'll save trivia for the end, as always.
So, when I'm going to go in order, because I wrote them, as I watch, I write the quotes in order. So, in order of the episode. When the dean says it was the Greendale Grizzlies, but I thought a lot of these students have been called animals their whole lives. So, just his delivery makes me laugh every time.
Yes, it's a good one.
So, there's that one. And then... When Jeff... Sorry, go ahead.
Right before that, since we're at the beginning of the episode, we're still in the opening. The memory technique that Troy uses to remember White Dwarf.
Yeah.
Who's going to remember White Dwarf from that?
I mean, I can
dwarves hate being called... Okay.
I can see
the full quote was like, dwarves hate being called midgets, and midgets are small. I'm like, how? I don't personally see the connection, but if you do, Brennan, that's okay.
I mean, I remember when I was learning about that, my, thought process, my memory technique was just thinking of Peter Dinklage and Elf.
Oh, yeah.
That's awful, but...
He's an angry elf.
Yeah, but white dwarf, because he's white and he's a dwarf.
Okay, that one makes sense. That one makes more sense than Troy's.
But it's very Troy to make it more complicated and have it work.
Yeah, that's fair, but it's funny because it's like, this shouldn't work, but it somehow does. And then Pierce talking about how he talks about an actual black hole. He's like, the only black hole worth studying is this, Sagittarius, whatever.
And everyone just looks at him.
Talks about the density of the black hole, and then he's like, just like my wiener. It's such a great joke.
It is. When Jeff says, they're looking at the trophy case, and Jeff goes, it looks like they won something once. Leans forward. Most valued customer. Henderson trophy cases.
Yep.
Just that one always makes me laugh.
Yeah.
So I've got 2 conversations between Jeff and Troy. The first one is when Jeff is trying to convince Troy to play football.
Yeah.
And they're by the vending machines. And Jeff says, you'd be surprised how many of your favorite football players started at community college. And Troy goes, really? Name one. And Jeff goes, who's your favorite? And Troy goes, me. Whoa.
Yes.
And his eyes get wide. And
yes. He has the wide eyes, and it is so easy for Jeff to persuade Troy.
Yeah.
But Troy is also so easily persuadable in general.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling I know what your other conversation. It's in your blood bit.
Yep. It's in your blood.
That's racist.
Jeff says it's in your blood. Or do you just want to reenact this?
Let's do it.
Okay. I'll be Jeff, you be Troy.
Cool.
It's in your blood.
That's racist.
Your soul?
That's racist.
Your eyes.
That's gay.
That's homophobic.
That's black.
That's racist.
Damn.
It's a great conversation.
It is. It's so iconic, and it's recognized by everyone everywhere.
Yep. Everyone who's seen this show knows what we're talking about, what that clip is.
Even people who haven't, like, it's made the rounds on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram before.
Yeah. When Troy goes, is that linebacker a pregnant woman? That's great. And actually, if you watch the background, you can see lady with a pregnancy thing on.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
In the background in football uniform.
Wow.
Yeah. I only know that because I heard the commentary and I went back and looked at it.
Yeah.
When Jeff walks in on the office and goes, I think not being racist is the new racism.
Yeah.
That makes me laugh because of how applicable that is to today's culture.
Yeah, like that.
Everyone is so focused on not being racist that it's almost more racist with how careful we are, you know?
I understand that, and there's two sides of that. There's there's a side of, like, I don't want to say anything, like, racist. I don't want to offend anyone.
Yeah.
But then you get so far to the point that you no longer acknowledge that. I mean, well, this is going to sound political, because it is, but, like, race is a social construct, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like, our ideas of race have changed over time and over history, right? Like, Irish people weren't always considered white. And neither were Italians. And so, like, yeah, like, that's why I say it's a social construct, because our ideas on, like, what race is different. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. A social construct can still exist, but that's what it is. And but when you try to, like, make it so everyone is people, everyone is human, and I agree with that 100%. But you can't ignore people's backgrounds and their cultures. You have like, that's what makes humanity so rich to me, is that people have all these different experiences, these different ways of living, these different experiences in living and cultures. And that's why I think Jeff is, we're agreeing on this. I think, like, Jeff is right on the money there. We're, like, avoiding race and racism so much removes that richness from life. Yeah.
Like, me and my small group, right? There's a group of us within the small group, because a lot of the small group, to me, seems very sheltered. Then there's the rest of us who have a darker sense of humor. So we're careful not to...
I wonder which side you're on.
Yeah, I know, right? We tend not to make jokes around, like, those kind of jokes around the people who we know probably won't be able to appreciate it or handle it, or it would freak them out. Like, we want to respect their opinion and all that, so we don't make those jokes around them. But, like, in this group within the group, we have a group chat, and all of the names are racist. One of the girls, I'm gonna try to avoid saying names so I don't have their permission, but she's African American, and her nickname is, like, her name in the chat that she named herself is the Token Negro.
Oh my gosh, that's
so, like,
that's so
then,
awful.
like,
but she did it herself, so
and, like, that's just our sense of humor in the chat. Like, we understand that none of us are actually racist. We respect each other to the point where we can make fun of each other for it.
Yeah, and it's like, there's a difference between genuine racism and jokes that everyone knows are wrong, and they don't genuinely believe those views. You're making fun of those views almost.
Yeah, but the problem is a lot of people don't, at least nowadays, can't realize it's a joke.
Yeah, there's some groups that are easier than others.
One of my really good friends, he's Indian, but his like North India, so he's very dark-skinned. He looks like he's African American.
Gotcha.
His favorite pastime And he also has a very deep Southern accent. So his favorite pastime is going in public and saying really racist things. And then people get offended, and then they turn around to yell at him, and then they realize who's talking. And they don't know how to react.
Oh my gosh, that's...
So, like...
And like he doesn't,
great.
and like he doesn't sound like he's a racist person. He's just doing that to get a rise out of people.
Yeah. So like, Blazing Saddles is supposed to be coming back to theaters here soon for one of its anniversaries. And me and him were joking about going together, and he just said, "I'm gonna be the only black guy. I guarantee it." The way he phrased it was, "It's gonna be me and a bunch of crackers," which was. It was great.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So like the problem is that people can't accept it as a joke now. When I don't think I've ever met some I've lived in the Hill, so I have met some people who are very racist.
Yeah.
I'd say 99% of people that I've met who say racist things are not racist. It's a joke most of the time.
Yeah.
And you can if you pay attention to the person, not just what they're saying, you can normally tell. The problem is we're judged immediately by strangers on the internet, not by those who know us, who know that we're joking, you know?
Yeah. I think
So.
you also have to, like, but there are some jokes that, like, you really shouldn't ever. Like, there's some jokes, like, you really shouldn't touch.
Yeah.
And certain words you shouldn't say either.
Yeah.
Like, so, but even then, with those things that you're avoiding, right? Even then, with the jokes you can say, you really do have to be careful, I think. And, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily bad to be careful.
Yeah, no.
It's important to consider your audience. Like, those kind of dark humor jokes, they're at their best when you know or the person making these jokes knows the audience.
Yeah, like how we're careful with our small group not to expose people who would not appreciate it to that sense of humor.
Yeah. And
like, you got to be careful.
Yeah, you always have to know your audience, and you always have to know, like, hey, how would this person take this? So,
yes.
Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of people I think there are a lot of people that get offended for other people.
Yeah.
And I've really only noticed that after my diagnosis with autism. I mean, I noticed it before, too, but then I realized, oh, wait a minute, like, these autism jokes I find funny, and I'm allowed to find them funny, and I don't take offense to them. But not everyone with autism does.
Yeah, like, my friends constantly rip on me for not being able to read social cues. And I'm like, I don't care, because it's true. It's funny.
Yeah. And you know they're doing it in jest. Like,
yeah,
I guess the tangent is, like, know your audience.
Yes.
I was about to say race is good, but I'm like, I feel like that could be taken out of context very poorly.
Yeah.
Racial diversity is amazing, I think. And having, like, these rich cultures come together and being able to, like, sort of, like, make jokes with each other, not at each other, is important.
Yes.
So,
like, the movie Blazing Saddles is an epitome of that sense of humor. If you enjoy that sense of humor and you haven't seen Blazing Saddles, I highly recommend it. If you get offended, probably don't go watch that. So.
Or maybe if that's not your kind of humor, don't watch it.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get back into
back to the episode. I got a few more quotes.
Yeah, I have some too. Why don't?
Okay, sorry, go ahead. You go ahead first.
Yeah, so because you got pretty far into the episode actually with the Jeff and Troy lines.
I've got 4 more, so you go ahead.
Okay, so I'll start up until we get back to wherever you left off. So, Abed's observation on Troy and Pierce getting along through mutual adolescence, like his observation of that, I kind of relate to that a tiny bit when I see people hanging out that I wouldn't picture ever hanging out together.
Yeah.
Like, or just like certain interactions in general that I observe, but usually, like, unlike Abed, I'm keeping those comments internal.
Yeah.
Because, like, people don't, I mean, admittedly, I have had a lot of time to learn the holistic world. And so that I know, like, I'm not going to just make general observations like that when they're in front of me.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the dean coming in, he takes Pierce's insult very lightly. He's like, there's not a shred of offense on his face.
Oh, no.
And what also surprised me is this is a tiny spoiler for something later on, but Pierce reveals he's been at the school for X amount of years. At this point, I believe it's 11, and he's not met the dean of the college yet. Or at least, like, doesn't know his face.
Yeah.
That does add up for Pierce.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of the dean being there, going back to, I forgot to put this in my notes, but it makes me laugh.
Ooh, let's hear it.
The dean coming in and going, "My, there's just one of every type of you, isn't there?"
Yep.
That got me. Then another dean quote. Just Jim Rash's delivery of this line is what makes it so good.
Jim Rash is amazing at this role.
Yeah. From what I've heard, because I did a podcast, I was listening to that podcast that I mentioned a few times.
Darkest
with,
Timeline.
Yeah. And they had Jim Rash on there, and they just kind of like, they were so jealous of how he can just come in, nail the shot, first take, almost every time.
Wow.
And that doesn't surprise me. Just
Yeah.
like considering how talented he is.
Yes.
But when he just goes, "And my ex-therapist is going to think twice about it before he makes fun of my job."
Yes, I have that quote too. Yeah.
It's like, what kind of therapist makes fun of your job?
Hey, there's a
It's an
reason.
awful therapist.
Yeah, an awful therapist. And the fact that he starts with X and for a split second you think ex-wife, ex-girlfriend, but then he says ex-therapist, and that just throws you off before the rest of the line.
Yeah.
So it's just one like thing after another. It's like my ex-therapist. Whoa, what? And then think twice before making fun of my job. Whoa, what?
And he just like screams it too. He's like, "Makes fun of my job."
Yes.
It's great.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of the dean, his conversation at the study group, not with the study group, his conversation at the study group could easily be seen as bad writing for people not really familiar, but his lines and delivery, it's so... Oh, shoot, my alarm went off. Don't worry about it. The dean's conversation at the study group, like, it's too bad and awkward to not be intentional. Like, the dean just doesn't know how to be subtle or drop hints at all.
Absolutely not.
Like, that's why I think the first couple times I saw this, I was like, oh, they wrote that scene poorly. And then I'm like, wait a minute, no. This is too bad to be on purpose, to be on accident.
Yeah.
Like, they purposefully made the dean that awkward and stuff. Because the dean, he's not a sly guy at all.
Absolutely not.
Later on when the dean comes in and is like, or no, this is the same scene actually. Whenever like Annie's like, he's better without football. And he's like, oh, Yoko Ono much? That's a good one. And why I also really like that joke is because it's not just Community that does it. Other shows do it too. Like, actually, the other day, I'm rewatching Breaking Bad right now, and I finished season 3 the other day. And Brennan, I don't know, you've probably not seen it, I assume.
I've seen a few seasons of Breaking Bad, but it's one of those shows where it's so long I lose interest after a few seasons.
Okay, so you know the characters at least.
Yeah, I know the characters.
Yeah, so most people probably would, even if they hadn't seen the show, just because of how popular it is. So Walter White, Heisenberg, is talking with Saul, the lawyer, about his wife, like, her ideas for their money laundering and stuff. And Saul is like, oh, did Yoko Ono give you that idea? And, like, referring to Skylar White, obviously. And they also did that joke in Family... Not that joke. They made a Yoko Ono joke in Family Guy, but it wasn't in the same context. It was, like, Brian the dog, like, trying to, like, get something pulled up on Alexa, and then she's like, Yoko Ono, and he's like, oh, no. And, like, trying to get it to stop because he doesn't want to listen, and the Alexa's like, now playing Yoko Ono. He's like, no Yoko Ono, no Yoko Ono. But, like...
Yeah.
I guess, like, I knew she was, like, John Lennon's wife, which is, oh my gosh, this is the second John Lennon joke in the show, kind of-ish, but
Yeah.
I knew that she is his wife and that a lot of people weren't happy with her, and I never knew why until I decided today, finally, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to figure this out, and it turns out it's only a speculation that she made the Beatles break up, because they got married, like, the year before the Beatles broke up, and so a bunch of people thought, oh, she must have made them split. It's a joke based on speculation, and the fact that it stuck around for so long based on a speculation that no one even knew was true, I was like, okay, that's odd.
Yeah.
But it is a funny joke still, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, of course, Shirley cutting off Britta with the hairdryer. That's a funny moment, too.
That is a great moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tying into that, after like the whole character arc, that whole plot progresses, and Shirley teaches Britta how to be sensitive, and then Britta helps Annie in the bathroom,
Yeah.
and Shirley comes in at the end and gets all excited and goes in for a hug and just walks completely past Annie straight to Britta. that
Yes.
made me laugh.
And you can see the realization on Annie's face that Britta wasn't necessarily being genuine, and she was just a test for Britta's sympathy lessons.
Yeah.
Like, you could see the, like, look of betrayal on Annie's face, like, oh.
Yeah.
Alison Brie does such a good job with faces.
She does a real, like, I have no clue how she does it. Because I struggle with that normally in normal life.
Oh, me too, but, well, here's the answer. She's not autistic, probably.
Well, she's able to convey it to people who are on the spectrum and we can understand it,
Yeah.
which is impressive. Because I can't do that in normal life.
Oh, I see what you mean now. Yes.
Yeah.
I get it, yeah. And then,
It's very impressive.
yeah. While we're on the girls for a little bit, Britta, like, as she's, like, starting to, like, tear up and, like basically pour herself out to Shirley, she just casually points out that she got hot before the other girls in her class in between tears. I'm like, wait, is that, like, like, just the fact that she's like, maybe it's because I got boobs before everyone else, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, it's just an odd placement for that, I think, in real life. But in Community, it's gonna happen. They're gonna put something. They're gonna have someone say something that they'd never say in real life, or bring up a point that they're not gonna say in real life. So that moment always gets me, especially because right as she's saying it, Shirley's like, not out here, in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fun moment. And then let's go back to the dean, because the dean is just fantastic.
Yes.
Whenever he's trying to, like, blackmail Jeff, it's so awful. He's like, we should send this out to law firms, lawyer companies, legal galleries. Like, he can't think of anything else besides law firms, so he's just making stuff up on the spot.
Yep. Yeah. Which so this kind of ties into the dean with the trivia.
Yeah.
Apparently, now I'm not like, I remember this is from the commentary, and they filmed this episode 3rd, but it was released 5th or 6th. So I'm not sure if this is accurate, but in the order of filming, this is the first time the dean enters the study room.
It's the first time he enters the study room in general.
Yeah, I thought so, but I wasn't sure. I remember them saying that in the commentary, that it was the first time shooting wise, but
Yeah, he hadn't been
so
in
this
the
is the
study room
first time
before
he
that.
enters the study room,
Yep,
which gets so much better as the show goes on.
it does. And then, yeah. And then we've already gone through... Oh, yeah, Troy knocking out number 85 when he tosses the football is amazing.
That took them 39 takes for him to hit the...
Yes, 39. Like, I was really hoping that was an unscripted moment that they just decided to keep. Much like in Breaking Bad when Walter White throws the pizza onto the roof and it lands on there. The first take. And they're like, oh, we gotta have you do that again. And he couldn't do it. The rest of the time they shot that scene, he couldn't get the pizza to land on the roof again.
That sucks.
So I thought it was going to be one of those cases, but no, they meant for him to hit the football player.
Yeah. Which, really funny story about that I think Joe Russo was saying on the commentary, was that they spent 39 takes trying to hit the guy.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, he's like, we could have done that in post with editing.
Yep.
Which is great.
It is such an easy thing that you could have done in post, too. Like, you could have just shot the guy running, getting hit by the football, have that on one side, and then on the other side have, like, Troy, like, tossing it, then turning back to Jeff. You could have spliced those together. I mean, it does show their dedication to the show, which I do appreciate, and it is better for it, but it is something they could have easily done in post.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And then...
Speaking of Troy and football, Troy at the pep rally, Troy just going, have you seen these guys? There's nowhere to go but up.
Damn. Troy's just so blunt sometimes.
And then the guy in the back is going, dude, we have feelings. It was great.
Yes. The Annie jumping out of the bush to get Jeff. Mm-hmm. Such a TV trope thing to do.
Yeah.
But Jeff points out that it is.
Yeah.
Like, meta humor. I love meta humor so much, and Community is the show of meta.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I love when shows are self-aware like that. Jeff's quote, profound but technically meaningless, it's also so iconic, too.
Yeah.
When he's, like, talking to Annie, he just responds with, profound but technically meaningless. I love that quote.
Yeah.
And then,
that was a good one.
Also, my last general observation and notes, whenever Troy says, take a pottery class or something to Jeff at the end, he's like, accept where you are, take a pottery class.
Foreshadowing.
A little bit. But that is definitely shows some more softening up of Jeff there, especially with that foreshadowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, now that we're only an hour into recording. We've had so many side tangents, I figured we'd be, like, far beyond an hour by now.
Yeah.
But no.
I've got one more note.
Okay, let's hear it.
Just in all caps. The human being mascot.
Oh my gosh.
Just...
Oh my goodness. Who in their right mind?
Terrifying.
Yes, it is so terrifying. Who in their right mind? I mean, yes, it's I love it for that reason too, but who in their right mind is approving that? Like that Have you seen, quick question, have you seen like the original mascots for like I think
Blake
like Mickey Mouse was
original...
one of them?
Oh, the Mickey Mouse mascot is terrifying.
Yeah, like the original mascots for a lot of places are terrifying.
Yeah.
The human being is somehow worse.
Yeah.
To me, at least.
I'd agree with that.
Because at least with those, it's like a fake head. This guy's just a creepy little smile painted on a real human head. And it's also, like, pale white. It's basically Slenderman, naked Slenderman with a face.
Yeah. Which, actually, the interesting thing is, like, everyone always thought that was Abed, and it's not.
Is it not?
No, they were saying in the commentary that's not Abed. It's the same guy through every, episode except for the debate episode.
Huh.
And I think Allison was like very against a new guy doing it in that episode because apparently like the human being is like scared and shy and the opposite of what a mascot is supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
And thin and slender and just not athletic.
Yeah.
And then in the debate episode, apparently, I don't know if they reshot it or not, but the guy that they had doing it that Allison was talking about was like buff and strong and confident and not the human being.
I'll be interested to see the difference between the two actors when we get to the debate episode.
Like I said, I don't know if they reshot it or not, so they could have. But I kind of want to see the different human being.
Yeah. It might still be there, who knows?
Yeah.
The human being, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that thing is terrifying.
Yeah.
I was watching this episode with my small group.
Oh, yeah.
When that thing came on, one of the girls went, no.
Oh, man, yeah. So shall we get into the trivia?
Yeah. I've already shared all my trivia, so
perfect.
Up to you.
All right, so when they're at the pep rally, you can see some signs that kind of make it seem like Greendale's next opponent in football is the Dentists. A mascot that's somehow almost but not quite as bad as the human being. We've never seen the Dentists, nor will we ever see the Dentists, but the fact that another college has a team called the Dentists.
That's amazing.
Yeah, shows Greendale's not the only whacked out place on this planet. And this isn't technically trivia, it's one that you shared, but the community wiki worded it so poorly, and I was like, how the fuck is this trivia? All right. I'll read it word for word. This is the episode where the dean walks into the study room with the group.
They didn't even say the first time?
No, it says this is the episode where the dean walks into the study group with the group. The study room with the group.
What do you mean the episode? He does that. That's one of his bits throughout the show.
Yeah, I'm like, what is that supposed to mean?
Interesting.
And so I was like, bad trivia moment. I have to share it just because of...
Oh, yeah.
And in the football field scene, there are palm trees in the background. Colorado doesn't have natural growing palm trees because It's
Yeah.
it's a dry, cold climate. Palm trees are not designed for that.
Yeah. Very clearly shot in California.
Yep, it was shot. I'll tell
Yeah.
you where it was shot. It was shot at Pierce College's football field in L.A. I love that they filmed it at a college that was named Pierce.
That is great. Yeah.
And this one's a more behind-the-scenes fact, but Joel McHale was a walk-on player in 1992 for the University of Washington's football team. So he actually once played football instead of Troy. It was Jeff.
So he knew what he was talking about.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
One could say football was in Joel's blood.
Yeah.
And then I have a couple more pieces of trivia, then we'll get into the Meow Meow Beans.
All right.
Allison Brie was 27 when they filmed this episode.
Really?
And, yeah. And
She looks like an 18-year-old. Like her character is supposed to be, which is really impressive.
her character is supposed to be 18, and so she is 9 years older than the 8-year-old character. Not 8-year-old, 18-year-old character she is playing. And she says that in character too, which is funny. It's like, you're 27,
Yeah.
not 18. I mean, she didn't, personally, this is just me, I don't think she looks young enough to be 18 in that, but I didn't think she looked old enough to be 27 either.
Yeah.
So, it's just funny, like, she clearly doesn't look 18, but...
Maybe I would say like early 20s.
That's a fair assessment, especially with especially with the costumes she's wearing. For
Yeah,
Annie.
the costumes I think is what brought me down to saying she does look 18.
Yeah, because costumes, like, man, good wardrobe will change everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
The last piece of trivia, in the end tag, whenever Troy and Abed are on the loudspeaker doing their little prank, Troy calls himself the Disco Spider. In the 101 rap, which was the very first end tag, in the rap, he calls himself La Araña Discoteca, literally translating to Disco Spider.
Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I heard him call himself.
Really cool.
I heard him call himself the Disco Spider in the tag. I'm like, that's an interesting name. I did not make the connection. I had to go on IMDb to find this out.
Could you imagine if that actually became his name, La Araña Discoteca, instead of Childish Gambino?
That would be hilarious.
That would be great.
La Araña Discoteca, homegirl, drop it like the Nasdaq. Too many syllables.
Yeah. Or, I mean, maybe the Disco Spider would work better.
Yeah, maybe.
But
So, Meow Meow Beans.
let's hear what you gave it first.
You know, yeah, I figured I'd have to go first because I always make you go first on this.
Yeah. Yeah. It was my... I was thinking maybe it's your turn now.
Yep, that's fair. Oh man, I'm between two. You know what? I'm just gonna say it. I'll go 4. And
I gave it a 5.
whoa.
Yeah.
Now here's my reasoning for giving it a 4. The story is not the most memorable to me, but it has so many great bits. To put it as a 3 feels criminal.
Yeah.
Plus, Troy's reveal at the end, like, gives more insight to that character. We get more insight to Britta. So really, like, having those, like, I love when they get deeper into characters. And that's always going to give me a little bit of bias with these ratings. So that's why I'm putting it at a 4. I almost put it at a 3 because the story, like, it's kind of forgettable. The thing I enjoy most from this episode are the bits. And then the couple moments where they dig into Britta and Troy.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? It's got to be 4. I have to give it a 4.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat as you where story and like backstory means a lot to me. Just, I mean, for our listeners who have seen Last Airbender, my favorite episode is the one, I forget, The Storm, where they learn about Zuko and Aang's backstories.
Oh, is that when they're learning about, like, that's not
I
where
believe it's called The Storm. No, the Storm is when we learn about Aang running away.
Oh, I was thinking of Roku in Sozin.
Yeah, that's my favorite episode, where you learn about Zuko's backstory.
Oh,
and
how he
also
got burned.
Aang's backstory. And just, like, there's an episode where it focuses on both their backstories and, like, the duality. Yeah, that's my favorite one.
Interesting.
I believe that is The Storm, actually, because they explain that's Iroh's on the ship talking with the crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's The Storm. But yeah, so, like, backstory and character development is my main thing. And then sticking with that character development. So that... And then just the bits. In my mind, the character development, automatic 3. The bits bump it up to a 4. And then the human being, just how terrifying that is, makes me laugh every time. So that bumped it up to a 5.
Okay, that's fair then. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, the human being is one of the bits, but
Yeah.
it has some of the most memorable bits for me in this episode.
Yeah, that's
So,
fair.
yeah.
It's our first 5 in general.
Yeah.
I still haven't given a 5 yet. I feel like it's funny because I'm used to, like, whenever we're, like, watching stuff, usually I'm the one that likes stuff more, it seems. Especially with Star Wars, but then with Community, whenever we've had a different rating, you're the one giving it the higher rating, which is so funny to me. Like, it's like the opposite of what's usual for us.
Yeah. Well, like, you gotta think about it. I've been a huge Star Wars fan for as long as I can remember.
Oh, me too.
So, like, I mentioned it earlier where, like, in the little, like, reasoning for giving this episode what I did, the character development. Like, Wolf and I have sat down and argued about this for a long time. I don't know if it was over an hour, but I think it was about what they did with Luke Skywalker's character. Like, I can see where they tried coming from.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it works. I don't think it fits with his character because Luke was like, you know what? I'm not going to kill my own father, even though his father was responsible for murdering thousands of people, blowing up a planet, all these things.
But you missed this.
He
He
sensed
was
the good in
about
him.
to. He was about to do it.
Yeah.
And then sensed the good in him and
he
stopped.
caught himself. He
He did that with Kylo Ren too.
Well, the thing with Kylo Ren, you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
So I feel like at that point, Luke is older, wiser, familiar with what leads to the dark side and what doesn't, and it didn't fit to me. Like, I can see it. I can see where it's coming from, sure, but it doesn't fit, at least in my mind.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I don't really have a problem with it because I think people are allowed to make mistakes, and
Yeah,
I think
so too.
And I think it did a good job of demythicizing Luke Skywalker, if that makes
But
sense.
then-
Because like
but then-
the whole galaxy, like he's still a human being.
Yeah.
Like he's not perfect, and I think
Yeah.
I think part of it was that he was so scared of everything he built up falling that he was willing to kill Kylo Ren to save it. But then, ironically, that's what ended up destroying it. Which actually
I can see
that actually kind of parallels with Anakin a bit. Trying so hard to save Padme, he ends up killing her in the process.
I can see it.
Oh, that I just realized that connection.
Yeah,
that makes me appreciate it more. But I know how you feel on it, and I won't try to change your mind. But
Like Wolf, we need to stop talking about this because I will argue with, like, I enjoy arguing this. I know neither of us is going to convince the other,
no, we're not.
but
We're
I
never
like
gonna-
arguing about it, you know?
Yeah, and we've already done the meow meow beans, so we don't want to keep people who aren't here for Star Wars to talk about Star Wars. So yeah, we'll wrap this up here. So thank you all for watching as always, and make sure to follow us on Instagram and Threads, as we've mentioned a few times already. You could subscribe.
You'll be seeing the photo of that snake.
Yes.
and the mystery photo that made Wolf chuckle.
Yes, the mystery photo. And subscribe to us on YouTube if you prefer to listen on there. If you're on Spotify, I'm going to try my best to get this out on other platforms as well. Just I don't know until I put out the first episode if I can do that. I have to copy a link from Spotify to put it onto these other feeds. They won't let you paste the link on any of them until there's episodes uploaded. And since, as of recording, there aren't episodes uploaded, I can't add that link. So I'm going to try to put this on other platforms. By now it should be. If you're listening, it's the 6th episode. It's going to be on other platforms by now.
Yeah.
If you don't like listening on Spotify or YouTube. But yeah, so continue to listen to the podcast, follow us on the socials, and rate this episode. Give us comments if you want. Yeah, that helps us out. And now that we'll actually have published episodes, we'll actually be able to get that feedback and start to change and improve if people feel the need to. If you guys think we're perfect, well, then you're just wrong. But all right.
Yeah.
That's all for now. I've been Wolf.
And I'm Ben Brennan.
And next time, join us as we discuss Introduction to Statistics.
Let's go.
Yes.
All right. See y'all next time.
See you then. Hear you then. No, hear us then.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've done it again.